Morning.
Hi, James. How are you?
Evgeny, you're not Elena.
I'll change my name just a second.
How's it going?
Okay. So I'm going to make you a host, okay?
Yeah, Yulia told me that you're all in St. Petersburg today.
Actually, I'm arriving late in the evening, St. Pete today. Now I am at, now in Moscow. Yeah. Peter James, okay. Right, you're a host now.
That's me.
Well. So if you don't need me, I'll go and monitor the exams. Yeah.
Oh, great. No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Evgeny.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Enjoy.
Okay. Good luck. Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Fine. I'm very well. Is it Irina? Yes.
Irina. Yes. Nice to meet you, James.
Nice to meet you. Whereabouts are you, Irina?
I am from Yalta, Crimea.
Lovely.
Okay.
Lovely. And what kind of lessons do you teach?
So generally, I'm a private tutor and working with different age of students, but primarily the adults.
All right. And is that in a like a language school setting or one-to-one groups? What kind of?
One-to-one groups. So it makes a difference.
A bit of
actually,
everything. That's great.
Yeah,
Well,
everything, absolutely. But primarily online, and usually I deal with ESP.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for coming.
Okay. Everything is okay, sir, and I'm just trying to enlarge my professional proficiency and professional level, of course. So that's why I've decided to take part in this seminar, because I'm thinking of taking a CELTA sometime, somehow. So I just want to know whether I'm ready for it or not.
Sure. Oh, that's great. It's good to know. I'll try and answer your questions, but we'll have some time for questions at the end also. So make sure that you ask everything that you need to know.
Okay.
Oh, great. So we have many people early. Because I live in Italy now, so I'm not used to people being so punctual. It's not a joke.
So,
if you start something at 9 o'clock, they can come 5 past, 10 past.
Oh, so, but this is our national character to be on time, actually.
Yeah, it's one of the great things.
Okay.
Yeah, the punctuality is
How
never
do
a
you
problem.
find living in Italy now? So is it cool? Is
The
nice?
weather?
The weather?
No, it's getting, I mean, technically it's still spring, of course, but it's extremely warm. For me, of course, I spent the first 20 years of my life in England. For me, this is summer, about 25 degrees, very, very sunny. So any warmer than this, and I need to hide in the middle of the day.
Oh my God.
So I need to enjoy this time, you know, when it's under 30 degrees.
Oh. So frankly speaking, I understand what you're speaking about, because I also don't like when it is too hot. 25 degrees is just the maximum that I like. Okay, I see.
Yeah, Crimea is quite. You have some nice weather down there, don't you? Generally.
So generally, yeah, the weather is very nice. But as you have mentioned, technically it's spring, but originally this summer, and it's terribly hot. So it's plus 28 or plus 30. So but I'm temporarily here. I just wanted to change my climate, because originally I'm from Siberia, and now I'm just trying to enjoy this warm weather. But it isn't a very good experience.
Lovely. Hi, Therese. Oh, your microphone. We can do a whole module on lip reading. That's another course.
Say good morning to everybody. It's nice to be here.
Good morning. Is it? How do you pronounce your name?
Therese, but well,
Therese.
Therese, which should be, but everybody calls me Terry, but it's quicker. Because how do you spell it? You know.
Is it a French? Is a French name?
Yes, it's a French. It's a French name. It's like the French version of my dad's name. He was Terence, so he wanted it. He thought I was going to be a little boy, but it didn't happen. So he had to find a female version.
How was your lesson this morning, Teres?
Not too bad. It turns out that, you know, I was waiting for about a quarter of an hour, and then my student sort of like, you know, after I called him up and I said, you know, we're supposed to have a lesson this morning. Oh, yes, I forgot about it. Yeah, really, I've taken my sister to Naples to have a vaccine. So I says, okay, yeah, you know, I'll let you off this time. But in the end, it didn't happen.
I was just telling Irina about Italian organization in general.
Facepalm.
Yeah, facepalm. There are many wonderful things, but
yes, well, organization is not one of their best things. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, sure. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Down here in the south, probably it's a little bit worse.
Well, I'm in Rome, so we're not too far away.
You're not too far away. Down. I
don't know where the north-south divide is in Italy. It depends who you ask, but it's definitely not Milano standards.
Definitely not. Definitely
but
not.
It's not Palermo either, you know.
Absolutely. No,
Alessandra, nice to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. How's it going?
Not too bad.
I know that bookcase from 20 Days of CELTA.
20 days. I'm fine. Not traumatized.
Yeah. So Alessandra did CELTA with me at IH Rome in, when was it, Alessandra? October to December. The semi-intensive.
It was, yeah, the semi-intensive one. I mute my microphone because the child is around, yes?
Sure. I mean, people are coming in slowly, and I'll explain the preferred etiquette. I mean, you know, if people can have their cameras on, that would be great, because otherwise I feel like I'm talking to a lot of black boxes, just so I can see your expressions of relative confusion or surprise or disgust, etc., and I can adapt what I say. Of course, if it's possible to have your camera on, that would be great. If you're not speaking, I would ask you to keep your microphone off, just in case there are echoes and other sounds in the background. It is Saturday morning, so you know, family and whatever else. But if you could turn your cameras on, I would appreciate that. And remember, the great thing about Zoom is that you only have to get dressed from the stomach up. The pajama bottoms and the rest, or even if you position your camera correctly, just the head. So my reading of Russian letters is very slow, so you have to forgive me. I have to do it like a small child. So that will be Natalia. Natalia. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine.
Good. Where are you, Natalia?
I'm from Moscow.
Ah, great. Great. And what kind of students do you teach?
Primary and secondary students at school.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of ages would they be? Like teenagers?
From 7 years till 14 or 16.
Wow, great. Great. And have you done the CELTA course?
I have been thinking about that.
Okay, great. So like you did with Dina.
Yes, I've decided to attend the seminar, the webinar.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. This is good. So we have a range of motivations, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
So as I said to Irina at the beginning, if you have any questions, we'll have a question and answer session at the end. At 9 o'clock sharp, because so many people are here, we'll start and I'll explain what we'll look at this morning. But hopefully, even if you don't decide to do the full course, there'll be plenty of useful things that you can use from this session, this hour that we have. And then, of course, I hope that you decide to do the full course as well. Good morning, everybody. So people are coming in. Alessandra, are you tour guiding at the moment in Rome?
No, I'm not. Things are picking up, but very, very slowly. I don't think we will be able to work properly before 2022, honestly. As they say, you know, people are started traveling, but it's not, even if airports are open and formally everything is open, people are still scared, and this is understandable. It's not over. In spite of vaccinations and things, it's not over.
No, of course not. I mean, for me, it's quite easy. If I wanted to travel from the UK, for example, I know it's quite easy to arrive to Italy. The problem is going back. And you would have to quarantine at the moment. Of course, the rules change every week. At the moment, you would have to quarantine for 10 days.
Yeah.
So it's not ideal.
So people who have like work commitments and things, they can't do anything.
Yeah.
Just a second, because they're calling me. Sorry.
No worries. Hi, Fabiana.
Hello.
Fabiana is fresh off the CELTA course. She finished yesterday. How was your aperitivo?
It was really good, thank you, and I had a lovely dinner.
Good. Hello, Anna. All right, so we'll begin, and then people will come and join us. As Fabiana knows, on the CELTA course, teaching Italian students, this is a skill that you have to acquire. That you have to learn how to integrate people who are coming in 2 minutes late, 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late, etc., etc. So we'll try and keep the flow going, despite people's arrival times. So I see that we have plenty of people here. There's 32 of us already, which is fantastic. Firstly, thank you all for coming. It's great to see that you're at least interested in the concept of the course. And as I was saying before, even if you don't decide, even if you decide not to do the full course, then I hope that you'll take a lot of useful things away from this morning. If I could ask you again to turn your cameras on, please, if possible, even if it's just your head, so we can see each other. And there will be breakout rooms, so get ready to talk to your partners. You won't just be hearing from me. This will not be a lecture for an hour, I promise you. So please make sure that you are able, let's say in 10 minutes, to at least turn the microphone on and speak to your partner in the breakout room. So I see some faces now, which is nice. So I don't feel like I'm just talking to a screen of black squares. But anyway, without further ado, we will begin. So this, as you hopefully know already, is the taster session for the full course, which is on the 6th of June, which is a Sunday. Okay, so next Sunday we'll have the full course. Here we're going to look at, let's say, give you an idea of the kind of activities that we'll be doing in the main course. Give you also a flavor of the way that I'll be running the main course, which is very interactive. I will not be lecturing too much. So, you know, if you enjoy this, then hopefully you'll know that the course next Sunday is good for you. So put some buttons there. Of course, I'm a CELTA tutor at IH Rome, International House Rome, and I've been tutoring on CELTA for about two to 3 years now. So we have regular courses. We have the full-time course, which online is 5 weeks, face-to-face is 4 weeks, when we can get back to face-to-face. We also have the semi-intensive, which is 2 days a week, Tuesday and Friday, which Fabiana has just completed. And then we also have some other options, like it's called the blended, which is every Saturday morning is TP, and then everything else is kind of online. So there are options for everybody. I'm not here to advertise CELTA. Okay, this is not my objective here. I work with CELTA. I don't work for CELTA, if that makes sense. I also took my Delta qualification, which is kind of the next step after CELTA, if you're so interested in developing your skills. And then it's really about understanding the reasons why we do things, which I hope to bring you today. You'll get a little glimpse, but especially next Sunday, I hope to give you a lot more theoretical knowledge and a lot deeper research, let's say, about why we should decide to do certain things and maybe we should avoid different things. But the fascinating thing about teaching, as I'm sure you all know, is that there are no correct answers for everybody. There is no one way to do things. And so everything that we see today and everything that we see next Sunday, you have to know how to adapt it to your students, whether it be to their interests, to their needs, to their level, to their culture as well. Teaching Italian students and teaching Russian students are completely different things, I can assure you from experience. And then the last box there, I'm studying a master's at the moment in applied linguistics. I'm nearly finished. It's called Applied Linguistics and ELT. And the reason that is relevant is that there is also a lot of useful information that I've got from that course that I hope to integrate into what I'm doing and what I'm hopefully going to share with you as well. So what are we doing today? So we're going to do a little bit of listening skills. So just to give you an idea of the type of the CELTA way of structuring listening, shall we say? And then hopefully we'll have time. We'll do a bit of writing. When I say a bit, it's very short, you'll see. And it's also combined with some pronunciation work. I don't want to ruin the surprise. Then we'll talk about the 6th of June course, the full essence of CELTA course. I'll explain a little bit about how it works and what I'm planning to do in terms of structure. And then we'll leave about 10 minutes at the end for some questions. If you have any questions or any doubts, then save them up, and we'll ask them all at the end in a block. So hopefully that sounds okay. Okay, so a few more faces now. In a few minutes, I'm going to put you into breakout rooms and you will be communicating with your partners, okay? So I'm just warning you again. Make sure that you can at least speak. Otherwise my breakout rooms will be ruined. Anyway, let's go straight into it. So a bit of listening skills. So this book was written in 2008 and I thought it was fascinating. Because even a couple of years ago, it was quite, I've used the word exotic there, but you can use other adjectives. Unrealistic, niche, maybe. But today, we've all been teaching online. If you've been teaching in the last year, I'm sure you've had some experience. So it's an interesting time in teaching. A lot of things are happening which are new. We've had to adapt and find new ways to do things. So it's been very, very fascinating. So we're gonna listen to a short extract from this podcast, a very short extract, only 2 minutes. So this is a podcast I have with my friends. This is my friend Josh, my friend Sal, who's also in Rome, and then Alistair was a teacher I worked with at International House Riga, because I lived in Latvia for 2 years and I worked at International House Riga, and we met there. And he has a great channel on YouTube now called Al's Action English. And his speciality is the Northern Irish accent. So he does a lot of accent coaching, and he's found his niche, because of course CELTA is such a general course, and it's a fantastic general course as a base, but then afterwards you really need to use it as a trampoline and bounce off and find something specific that you do. So Alistair is a great example of that. Yeah. Al's Action English. So we had him on the podcast, and this was in July last year. So online teaching was relatively new, and we were discussing the relative merits of online and face-to-face. And so we're just going to listen to a couple of minutes, and I have a very, very simple question for you. Okay, so keep that in your mind, the three options. So I'll also put them in the chat box. 100% face-to-face. What was the second one?
Online.
Thank you, Fabiana. And then some kind of hybrid. Okay, so those of you who have the cameras on, when you can hear the audio, please give me a thumbs up. Those of you who have the cameras off, please turn your cameras on.
Hopefully some of the things said were useful, but it's not me. It's got to be hybrid. Why can't the language school, for example, offer both options? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, absolutely, that's exactly what I'm pushing for right now in my little corner, waving my little flag for hybrid education, because the world is hybrid, whether you like it or not. The world is hybrid. So education should reflect that, because what you're doing with education, you're preparing people for the world, right? This is not an abstract thing.
But we're not. That's education does not prepare people for the world. That's
at the moment,
problem.
it doesn't. That's the problem. Yeah, but it's a hybrid world, and really, I don't see why, with all the advantages and now all these teachers with tons of experience, people are glorifying going back to full-time face-to-face teaching, and I'm sad for them, and I think it's a wasted opportunity for them and for their students. So yeah, I'm also pushing for a hybrid model where, like you say, then there are people that need to learn face-to-face, and education should cater to them as well. There are other people that would learn better online. There are other people that would do really well on a sort of a 50-50 model, or a 60-40 model either way, or a 70-30, to have maybe 1 week's lesson in the classroom, 1 week online. So they just have to travel into the physical school every 2 weeks instead of every week. There are many different options, but just to throw this away in the bin because, oh my goodness, we've survived the COVID quarantine and now we can get back to normal, whatever normal is. What if normal wasn't all that it could have been? How about that? What if normal could have been better? Are we just gonna pass up this opportunity now? For me, it's very sad. I'm also hopeful that a lot of teaching professionals are not just gonna turn a blind eye to all the benefits of online teaching, and we can integrate it as an industry. Microphone. I'm going to put you into breakout rooms for about 30 seconds, and you can share your answers. Don't look in the chat box. Okay, so you must turn your microphones on in order to speak to your partner. So we have 35 participants, which is fantastic. 17 breakout rooms. This is a new record for me. Okay, so I'll see you in 30 seconds. Fuck's. So, how do you say your name? I'm sorry, Arpine?
Arpine.
Arpine, you had the correct answer before anybody else. And it is hybrid. Very good. That was our preferred method.
I think the second person prefers hybrid type of lesson because he thinks it's a waste of opportunity, and not only teachers and students also will be provided with opportunities.
This is great, but we're now going to look at the details. You've already got a lot of the details,
Okay.
but the general thing was hybrid. That was me, by the way, with a lot more hair, maybe a bit grumpy. I can't remember the day. I seemed a bit grouchy. Anyway, it happens. Okay, so we're going to listen again, and this time we have more details to concentrate on. So exactly the same part, and these are the questions. Sorry, by the way, just as a very short side track, funnily enough, in July 2021, there will be a hybrid CELTA. So this is all very new for us. We're working out how it would work at IH Rome. Other centers will do different things, but there will be options for a hybrid CELTA starting in July, which is an interesting development. So you could do 50-50. But I'm happy to answer more questions on that at the end if you have them. Okay, so these are the questions. I will also share a document in the chat box. Have a quick read. Okay, so I'm going to share a file in the chat box now. I'll share it in PDF and in Word, so hopefully there's something for everybody. With the questions on, so while you're watching, you can answer. So there's the PDF. And there's the Word version, so open the one that works for you. Does anybody need me to share the screen again because you can't open the file? Okay, so I'll give you a few seconds to take a screenshot. 1 sec. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. They're exactly the same questions as you have in the files. Okay, so let's have a listen again and try to find these details.
It's now me. It's got to be hybrid. Why can't a language school, for example, offer both options? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, absolutely, Al. That's exactly what I'm pushing for right now in my little corner, waving my little flag for hybrid education, because the world is hybrid, whether you like it or not. The world is hybrid, so education should reflect that. Because what you're doing with education, you're preparing people for the world, right? This is not an abstract thing.
But we're not. Education does not prepare people for the world.
At the moment, it doesn't. That's the problem. Yeah, but it's a hybrid world, and really, I don't see why, with all the advantages and now all these teachers with tons of experience, people are glorifying going back to full-time face-to-face teaching, and I'm sad for them, and I think it's a wasted opportunity for them and for their students. So yeah, I'm also pushing for a hybrid model where, like you say, then there are people that need to learn face-to-face, and education should cater to them as well. There are other people that would learn better online. There are other people that would do really well on a sort of a 50-50 model or a 60-40 model either way, or a 70-30, to have maybe 1 week's lesson in the classroom, 1 week online. So they just have to travel into the physical school every 2 weeks instead of every week. There are many different options, but just to throw this away in the bin because, oh my goodness, we've survived the COVID quarantine and now we can get back to normal, whatever normal is. What if normal wasn't all that it could have been? How about that? What if normal could have been better? Are we just going to pass up this opportunity now? For me, it's very sad. But I'm also hopeful that a lot of teaching professionals are not just going to turn a blind eye to all the benefits of online teaching, and we can integrate it as an industry.
That's something we touched on earlier.
Okay, so I'm going to put you into breakout rooms for a minute or so to compare your answers with your partner. If you are in a breakout room and you have no one to speak to because the camera's on, the camera's off and the microphone's off, you know, there's that little hand at the bottom of your screen somewhere that's like call for help. Use that and I'll move you into a breakout room with somebody who, for example, the people that I can see with their camera on, I know that they're here. So I will make sure that you are moved as soon as I can, but it's just a couple of minutes anyway. So compare your answers in the breakout rooms. I don't know why she keeps telling me that. Did you hear? This meeting is being recorded.
Oh.
In a higher voice. All right, well, welcome back. So I heard that most of you had the correct answers, as I would expect. Just a few debates about number 3. Irina, what did you have for number 3?
So frankly speaking, I have nothing because
Okay,
because I met my native person so from the place where she was, and we just.
That's okay, don't worry. Fabiana, have you got anything for number 3?
Yeah, so what James says in the podcast is that, in his opinion, going back to face-to-face teaching has been glorified.
You don't have to talk about James like he's the third person. I'm here. That's like a road to schizophrenia, isn't it? All right, but anyway, let's double check our answers. Any surprises? Okay, so now over to you. This is the question I'd like you to answer in the breakout rooms. So I'll give you 20 seconds to have a think. So remember, when you're answering this question, like I said at the beginning, there is no one-size-fits-all solution when you're teaching. So maybe you'll have some classes that you think will be better 100% face-to-face. Some might be better 100% online. And so there's no, of course, there's no perfect solution, because that's what makes teaching interesting, right? That you're working with people, and even the same individual on different days will benefit from a different method. So this is what we always have to be mindful of. Okay, so back to the breakout rooms. Again, if you have nobody to speak to because their microphone's off and their camera's off, use the little raising hand icon at the bottom, and I will put you into a group where I know that there are talking heads. All right, so I'll give you a few minutes for this. Welcome back. Some interesting ideas there. By the way, when I say hybrid, what I'm talking about is when you have a whole lesson online and then a whole lesson face to face. Because in Italy, I was listening to some people's conversations, and it's clear that in Russia too, in some cases, you have physical students in front of you, and you're trying to teach on the computer as well. So you have to split your energy. Of course, the physical students can't really, or they can see the faces of the people online. Anyway, this is not what I'm talking about. That for me is a mess. I don't know if anyone's had a positive experience. Teresa, you're nodding your head furiously.
They tried with the elementary school, the high school here in Italy, but it was calmed down. It didn't work at all.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that. You know, sometimes, you know, I often, you know, raise my concerns about that, because, you know, I say I would prefer all people, you know, or the entire class totally online or totally present. If it's not possible, you know, let's try to go with the majority.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes it just doesn't happen because maybe for health reasons.
Sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's
you do what you can. You got to have a good spirit of adaptation, but you know.
Well, that's it. That's exactly right. I think that's if anything, over the last year, we've all improved our mental flexibility skills because we've had to. It's a bit of a baptism of fire, but yeah. So let's ask, if you wouldn't mind telling us, Yelena Omelch, and then it stops.
It's me.
What about you?
Hello.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So we discussed with Arpine some points concerning online. Strictly speaking, we were talking about the hybrid model. And the main idea that we tackled was that the most difficult thing to bring into our online classes is to preserve the tactile contacts, you see? Mm-hmm. So when I do this, I suggest my students in such kind of activities to take something into their hands, a kind of balls, or maybe some soft toys, in order to, for instance, when I suggest them the tasks to study some words, I ask them to touch something maybe pleasant, maybe irritating, depends upon the kind of lexis or the atmosphere, or sometimes they need to express first, before they can express their emotions, they can't acquire any kind of information. So yeah. I allow them to spread out, they have insight, and only after that I can teach them something. And it helps, you see.
Fantastic. What kind of age students are you teaching?
12, 13, 14, and higher, and adults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like your ideas a lot. I think people, even adults, have to move around a little bit, you know?
Yes.
If we're in the physical space.
Compulsory, right.
We'll look at some ideas on that next Sunday. But yeah, that's really good.
Okay.
And Natalia, how about you? So you teach in a secondary school, right? Well, we can't hear you. Microphone, there we go.
Yes.
And how have you been teaching online or face-to-face?
During the pandemic time, I taught online. It was not very easy for me because the students of secondary school were not very interested in my subject. They were getting ready for their exams, entrance exams, and so they didn't pay much attention to studies. But I had to do something very unusual, interesting, to involve them in their activities.
Yeah, for unmotivated, or for students who aren't necessarily as motivated or engaged, and they're two different things. Online has been a real struggle. Even some of my best students tell me, oh yeah, well, when I have online days, because in Italy at the moment you either go to the school, let's say 3 days a week you go to the school, then 2 days a week you're online, and then the two halves of the class swap, you see. So the teachers are doing, I don't want to call it hybrid, they're doing the double teaching, let's call it, where you're teaching to the screen and you're teaching to the class. Or you're trying anyway, you're trying your best. And they say, yeah, I mean, they're super motivated. They have, you know, extra lessons with me every week. They say, I just switch off. I do my homework for other courses. So also it means you have to make the classes a lot more interactive. But yeah, even the most motivated students find it hard being online all the time. Anyway, there's more to say, but not right now. So we'll explore a few more of these issues next Sunday. And well, it's a good time to say that the course is not just focused on online teaching or just on face-to-face teaching. All of the ideas, the structures, the activities, we'll be looking at ways that you can adapt both ways. And of course you have to adapt because you know, they're two different worlds, but I'm sure everybody's capable of being flexible with their skills. So we'll also look a bit more about receptive skills lessons next week, among other things, and go into a bit more depth about the structure of why we structure it like this, with the gist and then the details, and then what we call the follow-up task is, anyway, I don't want to ruin the surprise for next week, but we'll go into more details on that next time. So one thing that you can do both online and face-to-face, this is my transition, is writing or typing. It's still writing. Has anybody heard of a haiku? There's a few nods. Good. Okay, so this is my very imaginative haiku on the topic of teaching online. How many syllables, so you can type in the chat box, how many syllables are there in the first line? Fabian is correct. Very good, Alessandra. Okay, good. Now the next question is obvious. How many syllables are there in the second line? And smiles for me has 2, by the way. Smiles. Okay, 7. It is 7. I see eyes, mouths, cheeks, smiles. And then the final line, the word communication. How many syllables? Great. Okay. So if you knew what a haiku is before this, then that wouldn't have been very difficult, because a haiku always has 5 syllables on the first line, 7 syllables on the second line, 5 syllables on the final line. So 5, 7, 5. Okay. So I'm going to give you, let's say 5 minutes now to write your own haiku. The topic is very, very broad. The topic is teaching English. Okay, so you can do with that whatever you please. The important thing is that you have 5 syllables in the first line, then 7, and then 5. Okay, so let's say in Moscow it will be 10:44 when we finish. In Central Europe anyway, it will be 9:44. So 5 minutes. If you want to turn your camera off while you prepare, if you want to walk around to get some inspiration, get some fresh air, go and get a coffee and come back. It's up to you. But feel free to turn your camera off for this one. You know, lie down in the park for a couple of minutes, get some inspiration, that kind of thing. If you're not sure about syllables, then write to me in the chat box and I can help you. If you repeat the words too much, then you can convince yourself of any number of syllables. So be careful with that. So if you need any help, I'm here. But if not, I'll see you in, now it's 4 minutes. I'll stop talking now.
Много русских народов. Хайки poetry.
Okay, 1 minute left. 1 minute left. If you finish, you can practice performing it. It's all about the presentation. Okay, don't share them in the chat box, okay? We'll share them in the breakout rooms. Okay. So try and finish if you're not quite finished. So on the topic of being flexible, I can tell you live, my plan A was to put this on a Jamboard because Jamboard is a wonderful thing. But seeing as there are so many people and seeing that maybe not all of you have downloaded Jamboard, etc., we'll leave that for another day, but I will also share a link with you later about Jamboard and how you can use it. So plan B, I'm just sharing with you my my process here. Plan B, we're going to share them in the breakout rooms, so you can tell your partner. You can also make sure that you count the syllables, because it has to be, remember, 5, then 7, then 5. So enjoy. Again, if you don't have a partner, raise a little hand and I'll move you. Okay, go ahead. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to the main room. All right, of course they're very personal haikus. So if you don't want to share it with everyone, that's fine.
I can.
I'm only asking people who have the camera on, because if you don't have your camera on, I don't know if you're here. So don't be offended that I haven't asked you any questions. Elena, please go ahead.
Okay, so Arpinet rated it being fantastic. Hope you too. Okay, creative teacher reads and sings and flies and dives for her children thrive.
Ah, got a rhyme as well, which is an extra point. Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Super. Alessandra,
Unexpectedly.
there you have some skills you never knew you had. Alessandra, would you mind?
Yes, I don't know if I got all the syllables right. I said, teach English is fun. You struggle with technology. Why not try hybrid?
Why not try hybrid? The last line's good at least. It's good. It's good. I like it. Fabiana, I'm expecting a lot from you.
Oh my God. I think I accidentally did it as if you're learning English. So from a learner's perspective, but a teacher is always learning. So I think that's okay. So without
Come
further
on,
ado.
enough preamble.
So educational, it prepares you for the world, amazingly so.
I think that applies to everybody.
Yeah.
Very nice. Would anybody else like to volunteer? Yeah, is it Lika? Lika?
Yes, Lika.
Lika, please.
Okay, I'm teaching English. Where have all my students gone? Summer holidays.
I suppose you're in Russia.
Yeah.
It's the end of May is like the end of the school year.
Yeah, yesterday I had all my last classes.
Good.
Summer holidays, everyone wants to have a rest.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Well done. Super. Okay. So we don't have time to hear them all, unfortunately, but I'm sure they're all great. It's just as a very, very quick side, because we will be finishing in 10 minutes and you can carry on with whatever else you're doing this Saturday. Yes, I just want to share this with you very, very briefly, that I was thinking of putting it on a Jamboard, and Jamboard is a great thing because you can do a lot of other stuff with it. So of course you have the text there. You can also add pictures directly from Google Images. You can also draw shapes. So you can do tons of stuff with Jamboard, and you can set up a maximum of 20, which is why it maybe wouldn't have worked today, a maximum of 20 pages, and each student can have their own page. So it works really, really well. You can use it for tons of stuff. That's a very, very short side comment because I recommend you explore it in your own time. And you do have to download Jamboard if you don't already have it on your Google. It's a Google product. So I have it on my Gmail, my Google account. But anyway, there you go. There's a great website, great article that I used to get started with Jamboard a few months ago. And I've really enjoyed using it. You can use it for online and face-to-face, actually, as one of these very flexible tools. Okay, so. Oh yes, this is my favorite slide of the day. I enjoyed making this. This came to me in the early morning, this idea. You ready? So this was the taster. And if you want the full buffet of Italian, not the Italian metaphor doesn't quite work, but anyway, I had to choose something. So the point is that today was a very, very, very brief taster of the kind of, not just the kind of things that we'll be looking at in the course, but hopefully you've had an idea of the kind of, well, my teaching style, let's say, and if it's right for you, that's fantastic. I'm really pleased. If it's not quite right for you, then you know, that's no problem. But you've had a taster of kind of the whole experience. If you extend this hour out into a whole day, then it's kind of what you'll be getting next Sunday. of course, with different areas of of teaching and different ideas. We won't be doing the listening again and again. So what can you expect if you decide to sign up to the course next Sunday, the 6th of June? Well, this is the plan, okay? The plan will change slightly in terms of time. You know, we might have 5 minutes less here, 5 minutes more here, etc. But generally speaking, this is what we'll do. I will be sending a short questionnaire next week because we want to keep the number of participants to a maximum of 20. If there are a few more, that would be fine. But if it's a lot more, I would say, you know, very, very honored, very, privileged, but we have to say stop, because I want to make the course as personalized as I can for you. And if you have too many people, then it's quite impossible just to interact with everybody on a human level. So if you decide to sign up to the course, which I hope you do, then it will be nice if you could share some information about your teaching context so I can adapt what I'm saying and what I'm offering to be as useful as it can be for you. So it's like we said, and we keep saying, teaching is not a one-size-fits-all, and nor is teacher training. So the general plan of the day: receptive skills. First thing, I've chosen 2 texts about, I looked at this last week because I changed them from last year. Last year they were more about online teaching because that was quite new at the time. When we did the course in August, I mean. This time I've chosen a couple of things which are a bit closer to my general interests in teaching, which is educational psychology and ways that you can motivate and engage students. So I won't say any more, but the 2 texts, of course, we'll be looking at the structure of the lessons, the way that you can teach these things and the techniques and the details involved in teaching these lessons according to the CELTA criteria. But also the texts should be interesting for you as a teacher and as a learner in order to discover more about educational psychology. Let's call it that. So there'll be many layers to the day. Then after a break, you can see what we have. You see that we have a half-an-hour break here. There will be plenty of breaks during the day because we do need time off the screen. So we still have energy in the final sessions. Productive skills, teaching, writing and speaking, and a lot of pronunciation. I'm really passionate about teaching pronunciation and making it physical as well as visual. So there'll be plenty of ideas there, inspired by one of my ELT favorites, Adrian Underhill, who I've worked with, who I've received training from in several courses. So I'm looking forward to sharing those ideas. Then you have an hour break. And then we'll be looking at teaching systems. So teaching vocabulary, grammar, functions. Again, the lesson structures, the details according to CELTA. We'll be looking at we'll be doing these through demo lessons mostly, so you can experience from a student's point of view. But the things that we look at during these demos, I hope, or I've chosen them with the thought that they will also be interesting for you as a teacher. So the contents will also be interesting and not just the structure. And then we'll have another break. You see where this goes. And then this is something, actually, this is a part which I think personally is not involved enough in CELTA, in mainstream CELTA, because any way you do the CELTA, there'll be different, the same criteria, but different details in the criteria. So the seminars that we do, we have a few extras that we can give, but we don't have that much time to explore other things. Because the CELTA criteria is so dense. So this is an hour that I've dedicated to exploring ideas and exploring concepts that I think are fundamental to teaching, which are not involved in CELTA. So if any of you have worked with me before in other webinars that I've run for TrendyEnglish, you'll know what I think about movement, what I think about body language, the importance of body language, the importance of how you use your voice. And there are a lot of crossovers, I suppose, from the world of drama, the world of acting that Fabiana knows a lot about. in how you present ideas and how you link ideas together to make the lesson flow. So I won't say any more, but there's plenty of information in that hour that I'm finding it difficult to trim down to an hour. So I've got lots of ideas on the first draft of the day, and of course with the information that you give about your teaching context, I'll make sure that I pick the things that I think are most relevant for you. And then of course we'll have plenty of time at the end for any questions, any ideas. The great thing about the course last year, we ran it in August, so middle of summer holidays for a lot of teachers. So it's great to see people so committed to improving their skills. One of the great things was that we had teachers from all over the place. So another layer to this is that you'll actually learn a lot about teaching in different parts of the world, or different teachers' contexts that maybe I have never taught a secondary school class in Moscow. So I found out a lot about that world and how it works, and the opportunities, the restraints, etc. So that's another layer to it. You connect and you meet teachers from all over the place. It's fantastic. So it was a very good course last year on the 20th of August. If you go on the website, there are some testimonies from people who took the course on the 20th of August, and they said nice things, which is great. I also had a lovely day. Really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to do it again on the 6th of June. Remember that these times are in Moscow, so for us in Central Europe, it's a bit of an early start, but we do finish with a full afternoon, evening ahead of us. So, it's the sacrifice, but it's worth it, I think. I'm biased, but I think it's worth it. So, without further ado, I'll actually share the link to the sign up in the chat box. As I said, we want to keep the numbers to a limit of about 20, so we can make the course as personal as possible. I think there are 6 or 7 signed up already, so I know that this is a typical marketing technique, but it really is true. There are limited numbers, so if you want to sign up, then I would do it sooner rather than later. Don't leave it too long. I hope to see you again next Sunday. So there's the link to sign up. We're almost running out of time, but are there any questions for me?
James.
Yes.
What is your opinion as for the cursive writing, teaching cursive?
Teaching cursing. I don't think, you're talking about swear words, right?
I mean cursive writing, handwriting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said cursing. I was about to answer a whole question about cursing, like swear words. What's my opinion about cursive writing?
Yes.
Handwriting.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what I do is now typed, and I think, so what we were saying in the podcast about preparing students for the world, most of what they do, I would argue, in the future will be typed. So it's not that I'm against handwriting, but I think it's also useful to get students used to typing things up, because I don't know many industries now that use handwritten letters. But that being said, there's never a black and white, of course. I think handwriting has its place. I've also read I've heard of some studies which suggest that if you write down notes by hand, it's a lot better for your memory of what you've written down instead of typing it or copying and pasting, which is the worst because you have no energy. So in that sense, writing can be useful. Taking notes by hand seems to be better for memory, but I'm definitely not against it. I just think if I had to choose between, can you do me an essay written or can you do me an essay typed on a Google Doc, I always go for the Google Doc because it's more realistic to what students will use, and it's also a lot easier for me to mark, and then we can use it to do peer marking, for example. There are a lot more opportunities there in terms of interaction. So,
and I met a lot of science research that confirm that handwriting starts launching the creativity of the personality.
Yes.
Because
there are a lot of benefits to it.
Constant transformation from printed one into the written one and back is launching the creativity, the creative way of thinking, you see.
It's interesting. Yeah, it definitely has a place.
Thank you.
So there's a question on the chat box from London Express. That's a lovely name. The seminar will be online, of course, 100% online. But as I said earlier, we will be talking about online teaching, face-to-face teaching, a mixture of both, depending on what will be most useful. But yeah, I'm not traveling anywhere. I will be actually on this. I was going to say on this seat, but I'm actually on a Pilates ball. I'll be on this Pilates ball next Sunday, and in other parts of my flat, because I don't like to sit in the same place all day. So you'll see a bit of the whole flat. The short answer is yes, it will be 100% online. Any other questions? Any other doubts? Last chance.
I have a question.
Yeah, go on.
In my case, I have been working with students individually, so that's not a group lesson, but face-to-face. And on one hand, I think that CELTA course is just a professional step for teachers to go ahead, and on the other hand, I am in hesitation. Do I need to participate in some course? Because how I understand CELTA course is for teachers who works in groups.
Yes, it's a good question. The CELTA course, so I'll explain a bit more next Sunday about the structure, but you can find the details of the structure of CELTA. I'm talking about CELTA, not this course, a full CELTA. You can find details about the structure online. As you know, there are 6 hours of teaching practice to groups, but most of the skills that you learn are adaptable to one-to-ones, but you have to adapt them. So for example, just to take one example, breakout rooms to compare answers, not going to happen in a one-to-one class. So that step is a really important step in the CELTA criteria. Well, you have to jump over that because we don't you don't have a partner. So there are some adaptations to be made, but I would say it is still very useful. Yes, as a general course of how to teach different lesson types, and also just to get experience of being observed and being given constant feedback. That's one of the great things about the course, not just from the tutors, but also from your colleagues. So yeah, I would still say it's useful in general.
Thank you.
Good question, thank you. So remember, this is not a CELTA course, this is just a one-day summary. So I think if you're thinking of doing the CELTA course in the future, then this is a good it's a test without the stress, okay? You can try out the main themes of the CELTA for one day and then decide if you want to invest 20 days. And if you have done the CELTA course, I always argue that it's a refresher without the pressure. It's a refresher without the pressure, because the CELTA course is so busy and so stressful sometimes that you've got so many things flying around at once. You don't always have time. Most people do not have time for things to settle in their minds. So I would also argue that it's a good time to revise the main concepts, and then of course, not just revise the main concepts, but look at other things that are not included in the CELTA course. In most CELTA courses, of course, I can't speak for all CELTA courses, but it is also an extension. I see this as an extension to CELTA rather than just repeating the main themes. Any other questions? Very, very final questions. Okay, so again, the course information is on this website, which is in the chat box. If any other questions come to you later on, or you wake up in the middle of the night, and you think, oh my goodness, I didn't ask that question, and you can't get back to sleep, don't worry, send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about the course. That's also my blog website, if you're interested in reading a little bit of information about different ideas to do with teaching, but it's just, it's there if you want it. But yeah, if you have any questions, then please get in touch. That's my email address. So I'll be happy to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you next Sunday. So sorry we've run over a little bit, but I hope it was worth it. I enjoyed myself anyway. Thanks very much for joining us this Saturday morning, giving up your time to test out the course, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend. It's very nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.